to another edition of 5 Questions in 5 Minutes. And I have with me today Stephen Bayley. I'm delighted about this. Stephen is the man for whom the phrase design guru was coined. He's been described as the second most intelligent man in Britain, about which I do not doubt, but I'm very interested to find out who the first was. He's also been awarded the Chevalier de l'Ordre des Arts et Lettres, the highest offer France has to offer any of us Brits, or anyone really, in the arts. An extraordinary man with so many facets that I may end up interviewing him twice, as you will see. But Stephen, thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to kick straight off with the first question, not even allow you to speak. You created the Design Museum, the world with Terence Conran, the world's very first design museum. Did it live up to your ambition and desire? And if so, why? And if not, why not?
I'm very proud to have started something which has become a little part of national life. To be honest, I'm a bit disappointed with what it's become. I don't think Terence Conran and I thought really quite close and hard and long about what it was meant to be, and it's slightly betrayed those ideas. I think any great successful museum is a museum, as it were, of itself as much of its contents. Like the Museum of Modern Art in New York could only have been created in the 1930s in New York, given the patrons and the art it supported. Or the Natural History Museum in London is like a diagram of the Victorian mentality. Or even the Guggenheim in New York, it's like the helix, and the spiral is like an ego out of control, which is what Guggenheim perhaps was. And our neat original little building on Shad Thames near Tower Bridge was, I just think, perfect for the job intended. It was perfectly functional and an unelaborate, straightforward little box of absolute clarity and lucidity in which we could explain things about design. Moving it to the Commonwealth Institute was, I think, vainglorious and hasn't quite worked.
Before I even ask you the next question, can I just say I had a quick look at your website, and I found the phrase on your little video that says, I think something like, coffee must be done slowly. I'd like to dress while percolating. And I thought that's such a brilliant encapsulation of your sort of rather mischievous kind of the way you concoct it.
I think coffee is very important. I'm sure we'll mention this later on, but one of the things Terence Conran taught me, I sort of knew it already, but Terence confirmed it, that anybody who can't be bothered to make a decent cup of coffee can't be trusted to do anything.
Yeah. Well, here we go. That is a decent cup of coffee. What is your view of marketing? And I'm interested in this, obviously, because of the audience we have, and I'd like to get into this in some greater depth when we look at your book, but I'm interested in the marketing / PR / brands as distinct from design per se, if that's a question that even means anything. I don't know.
I don't think, some people think marketing is, the work of Satan. I don't see it like that, although I've had various differences with people professionally involved with marketing in the past. I just think, design, PR, marketing, they're all part of the whole, really. It's all about, it's a way of understanding the contemporary world and maximizing the potential of the contemporary world. And everybody, whether you're a marketing professional, design professional, or PR professional, what you're aiming at is just to make things better. And that's what unites all these things. They're not different. They're just different aspects of the same whole, of the same mentality. And it's all about, the modern world absolutely fascinates me. It's not without its pains and its discomforts and its disorders and its errors. We all know that. But I just love the opportunities which industrial and now technological culture offer us. And marketing, design, and PR are just handmaidens of that culture. All the same thing, really.
Interesting. Yeah, and I'd love to return to that when we get on to the second interview about Terence, because I think he's interesting in the way he inhabits those spaces. Back to you, though. What is your idea of sublime happiness?
Well, of course, there are so many, but one is I'm an extraordinarily vain and arrogant person, and I'm very disappointed that I'm not whip thin and suntanned and very, very good at tennis. I'm none of those things, and I'd like to be all of them. But I suppose my idea of just a little vignette for you, my idea of what perfect happiness would be. And I'm perfectly happy sitting here talking to you. I'm not dissatisfied in that. But if you want a fantastical, elaboration of it, yeah, I'd like to have just won a stylish game of tennis in strong sunshine. Then I'd be driving home in my classic Porsche in order to pour myself a large glass of red wine and cook a delicious something for my friends and family.
What stops you doing that? Is it
Nothing. Well, I haven't got the classic Porsche, and I'm no good at tennis. But these things might happen.
Okay.
Or the Porsche is likely to come. It's likely to come before the skill at tennis. I think I never practiced ball skills at school. I was too busy being a swat.
Right, right.
And then I discovered girls and beer, and that put an end to the swattishness as well.
What are you most ashamed of?
Oh, well, there are so many things, aren't there? I mean, I scarcely know where to begin. I suppose one of the most disreputable things I've ever done. It's a long time ago now. I've done many disreputable things since, but something which torments me is that when I was a teenager, my best chum, and he remains a chum now, despite my now traducing his goodwill, had an Afghan coat, which I at the time, this was a thing of of fashionable significance. I greatly envied it, and persuaded him to lend it to me, and then I sort of rather refused to give it back, and he never complained. And he's now an eminent plastic surgeon in New York, so it did him no harm. But I still feel tormented by guilt by my arrogant assumption that this Afghan coat, because I liked it so much, should be mine rather than his.
Is this the beginning? Did you steal other things in
No,
life?
no, no. I've stolen very little. I've
Okay.
done lots of I've done lots. I'm sure I've been responsible for lots of wickedness, but theft has never much. Well, intellectual theft I'm very good at, but material theft is something I've never bothered with really.
Okay.
Partly because I don't want any possessions really. I mean, I long ago, sort of notwithstanding the Afghan coat episode, I long ago satisfied my my material needs. There's sort of
yeah.
nothing really I want or need.
An intellectual theft is homage, is it not?
Well, there's the line between plagiarism and inspiration is a very blurred one.
Right. I like that. So what is the best advice you think you've ever been given?
My favourite advice, well, it's again related to cooking, but then cooking is all about life, goes to the Victorian cleric Sidney Smith, said the best route to happiness, the most efficient way to happiness is think no farther ahead than lunch or dinner, because tomorrow can never be known. Our business is to be happy here today.
Here's a question, Stephen, for you. If I remember your story correctly, you were I think you were teaching in Kent possibly, or at a university, and Terence Conran spotted you and brought you in, and the rest, as they say, is history. But what do you think your life would be now if you hadn't teamed up with Terence?
I think it would have been, to be honest, much more impoverished. My Terence plucked me from the obscurity of a provincial university where I was teaching. I mean, enjoyably so. In those days, teaching university was like belonging to a club. You just chatted to girls and played squash, all day. But they paid you to do it. It was a club where they paid you to. No, it was an enjoyable way of life. No, had I not met Terence, I'd be a comfortable academic in an obscure provincial university. No hardship involved in that, but I wouldn't be talking to you and the Marketing Society.
Well, listen, that is a lovely way to finish, because not least you would then have been a lot better at tennis, I imagine. So we'd have come full circle. Stephen, I'm gonna end it there because we have to, but I could talk to you forever. Thank you so much for joining me today on 5 Questions in 5 Minutes.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you.